it's Decklist TCG here and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. Today we're actually going to be checking out the top 10 best choices for NAIC. The North American Internationals is actually next weekend, so not this weekend but the weekend after that, and it will be containing of course the legality of the Twilight Masquerade cards, a humongous set with lots of ace-pack cards, lots of EXs, lots of archetypes coming from this humongous set, and I'm very curious to see the results. I currently am not flying over to North America for the Internationals because I already locked in my invite a little bit earlier this season, so I'm actually going to be watching at home, and maybe I can even do some gameplay footage during the weekend if I find the time. But for this video, we're actually going to be checking out the top 10 best decks. So that is actually with the online circuit into account, because we're going to be taking a look at the results from, of course, the play.limitlesstcg.com tournaments that happened, and a little bit of an account that happened during the Champions League over in Japan. So this is my personal opinion mixed in with some objective results currently. So if your opinion is different and I forgot a couple of decks here and there, let me know in the comments which deck you would personally put in this top 10. Like decks like Chimpao have just fallen off the radar a tiny little bit. Rogue decks like Blizzy barely didn't make the list, so don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you objectively what are the best top 10 performing decks over in the online circuit. If you guys are enjoying the daily Pokemon TCG content, be sure to let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button, and of course subscribe for more daily Pokemon TCG content. We have reached well past the 60,000 subscriber mark, so I still want to thank every single person out there that is watching the daily content. You guys are what make it possible. And before we check out all these fantastic deck lists, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors that make the videos possible. DragonShield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. You can use the coupon ZABLUS5 for 5% off on everything on the website. YourPlaymat.com to create your own unique custom playmat. There is PotownStore.com for TCG Live code card needs. They have Twilight Masquerade and promo codes over on there, so use the coupon ZABLUSTCG for 5% off. And CardMarket.com for European players, where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Use the referral name ZABLUSTCG to help support the channel. With that being said, let's talk about number 10, Giratina VSTAR. Ever since Lost Origin, this deck has been racking up tournaments left and right. Sometimes it gets better in a specific format, sometimes it gets worse. But objectively, this is a very strong deck. Not a lot of people are putting this on the radar. We do have access to the most powerful V-Star attack, in my opinion, the Star Requiem. Just instantly flipping over your V-Star token and you one-shot anything in existence without a downside. The only thing you need is 10 cards in that lost zone. We are playing that additional vacuum in there, and some targets for that could be the Temple of Sinnoh or the Rescue Board. Rescue Board, very great for comfies, protecting yourself from some Iono plays as well. And with 2 copies of Roxanne, with the help of counter catchers, this deck is on a tear. You can go Super Rod and reuse stuff like your Sableye. There's a Cramorant for the early lead. You have Manaphy to protect your own bench, and you can even attack with Greninja. In the late game, you might think, oh, I didn't set up a second Giratina V and they knocked out my only one. That's where the powerful Bloodmoon Ursaluna comes into play. With the effect of Jet Energy, you can simply reset the attack effect, so you can attack twice with a Bloodmoon Ursaluna, combine that with a Roxanne or an Unfair Stamp, and the opponents will definitely feel that. Other win conditions for this deck are, of course, counter catching something with a high retreat cost, using Unfair Stamp, and then sprinkle your way to victory with the Lost Mine. So this deck is actually pretty good. I should definitely check it out. If I was going to NAIC, this is one of these picks that have been underplayed. And if you're having familiarity, or if you have played Lost Zone Giratina before, this might actually be a great shot. People are a little bit scared with stuff like Dragapult, sprinkling away all your stuff, but that's where the 4 switch cards will definitely come into play. This is Lost Zone Giratina, ladies and gentlemen. So this is number 10. Number 9 is Control. Control is always gaining new cards left and right, and there are a lot of Control Masters flying all the way to North America for that international tournament. And what are the new tools that it gets? Well, I'm glad you asked. You have the late game sweep with the Bloodmoon Ursaluna. A Bloodmoon Ursaluna with 260 HP, combine that with a Hero Escape, you have a 360 HP monster, and if you put the opponent to a low hand size with the help of something like an Iono, that could be detrimental. You could also penny loop the Bloodmoon Ursaluna. Some decks cannot even one-shot the Bloodmoon, so you can just penny it. Once it does damage, you can penny it up, promote Pidgeot EX, have free retreat, slap it down again, and attack. Because Bloodmoon Ursaluna can attack for free, as long as the opponent has taken 5 prize cards. It can also attack if the opponent has taken 3 prize cards for a double turbo energy. So there's definitely things to think about. Radiant Zard can also do the exact same thing, but Bloodmoon Ursaluna is a little bit more tanky. There's also a Luminous Energy in here that can help out with the other Pokemon here, because if you see here, there is the fella over there, the Chiyu, which can still mill the opponent, so that can be used for that Luminous Energy. There are other attackers out there. I think in this scenario, you can actually combine Luminous Energy and something like a Fire Energy to start swinging with some additional things here. For example, you can go for the Ghost Eye of a Mimikyu if you would want to. Mimikyu walls off specific decks. There's also a Great Tusk with 250 HP that does come back with a different weakness, so that is also a target that is pennyable in the late game, of course, as mentioned. Heroescape onto the Great Tusk EX, you come back with 350 HP and you can penny loop that, definitely with the high amount of Pal Pad in here. There's also the means that you can have the Calamitous Wasteland and some trapping capabilities of Counter Catcher. There is, you might think, why is there not a Mawile or something in here? That's where the Wellspring Ogerpon comes into play, because with double turbo energy, the Wellspring Ogerpon actually can also do the effect of a Mawile. Sandshrew still part of the control package. Luxray with that Fang Snipe, very powerful indeed. So the Pidgeot control list does, of course, have it all. There's the Mist Energy, so you cannot get like evaporated. And also helps out if you're up against the pesky Dragapult that's going to be targeting down your little Pidgeys. Still 50 HP Pidgeys. We don't care about that in the slightest. If you can get that Mist Energy on there, that would be fantastic. Roseanne's backup can get a mixture of everything back into the deck. And with stuff like Eerie, Misfortune Sisters, and Penny Loop shenanigans, you're going to be outlasting the opponent, and just hope you just discard enough resources from the opponent that you can win the game. Also, I should note here that the meta has not 100% been confirmed, because people for NAIC could be testing some rogue stuff, and I think control is a little bit, would be higher up on the tier list, or actually on this top 10 best decks list, if you of course know what exactly is going to be played at NAIC. But with so many players, I expect like 3,000 players out there, this also, you should know every matchup inside out. Number 8 is Classic Miraidon. Did really well at the Champions League over at Sapporo, and we see here that the list has not changed all that much. You have 2 copies of the Iron Hands, you power yourself up with Electric Generator, you have 16 basic Lightning Energies to support that. The cool thing is that you now have Tatsugiri, so if you're whiffing out on a supporter, think about Arvin, think about Professor's Research, you can actually use that Tatsugiri to look at the top 7 cards and just find a supporter right there. And I think it's the top 7 or the top 6, whatever. Tatsugiri is going to be that little helpful sushi roll that's going to help you out to make sure you don't break. Same stuff goes if you get like Ionut, if you get Roxanne, if you get Unfair Stamped. Yeah, that's even a term, Unfair Stamped. You can rely either on Mew EX or Tatsugiri, just put both of them on the field and you have some protection. There's also Radiant Greninja in here. The reason for that is that you have a high amount of energies, and that means if you already have enough energies in play, you can then go for concealed cards, Tatsugiri as well, and Mew EX, the combination of everything together here. So this is still a scary deck, because a turn, 1 Iron Hands going second, not a lot of decks can withstand that, and if you're able to use the Heavy Baton onto something like an Iron Hands EX, you can even do it twice. You can also power up enough energies to go for a powerful Raichu attack, as we all come to know and love. So with Bravery Charm, you turn your big basic decks into more HP, and there's even an Iron Bundle to push the opponent to the side if you want to prey upon weaker HP Pokemon. So strong list for sure, Prime Catcher, Boss, and Iron Bundle, so lots of Gust, and that's why this list is sliding in here on the number 8 spot. Number 7 is gonna go to Turbo Lost Box. Turbo Lost Box also gained that little buddy here. It's not that little because it has 260 HP, the Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX. With, of course, its ability, you need 1 cardless energy less to attack if the opponent has taken a prize card. So for every prize card the opponent has taken 1 cardless energy less, meaning that with a simple Mirage Gate and an attach of turn, Bloodmoon Ursaluna could be attacking as soon as the second turn if the opponent has knocked something out, which is very, very great. There's Raikou V, which is going to be your Forest Sealstone target, but also could help out knocking out stuff like Lugia V, because Lugia is very important. Also could knock out stuff like Lumineon V, for example. And this deck is actually not resorting to Roaring Moon EX anymore. Instead, you have the high HP of the Bloodmoon Ursaluna to rely upon. You have access to Colress, a lot of vacuums, a lot of Pokestop as well. So this is Turbo Lost Zone Box, the way we love it already. Lots of Super Rods in here, so that might be a little bit tricky because there's only Hisuian Heavy Ball here to fetch fetch your one-off Pokemon, so you might think about adding in a second Cramorant or a second Sableye depending on your playstyle. But this is a turbo build with lots of Pokestop, lots of Vacuum, because you want to get to 7 in the Lost Zone ASAP. You have access to the attacks Lost Mine, Moonlight Shuriken, Cramorant with Spit Innocently, and of course the powerful Bloodmoon Ursaluna, Raikou, and Iron Hands as the backup 2 prize Pokemon that help you out. I think this list is very solid for sure. Definitely one of the decks I also would test against, because people are always saying, Lost Box. I'm not expecting a lot of Lost Box, and suddenly you see like 4 Comfey decks and you say like, I should have practiced this matchup. You also see a Spiritomb in here, very great against control with that Rotom shenanigans, but also could help out to knock out stuff like Lumineon. Actually, not knock out, but block Lumineon V. So against stuff like the Lugia deck, for example, they could brick a little bit more easily if you slap down that Spiritomb up on the bench. So mainly targeting down Lumineon V and Rotom V as, of course, the V Pokemon of choice, and shutting them down with Spiritomb will give yourself more time. With that being said, we're going to be checking out number 6 is going to be Charizard. Yeah, people thought, what's happened to the best deck in the format with the Temporal Forces meta? Well, with Twilight Masquerade, we can just knock it down a tier, because Dragapult is a threat. There's also the threat of Raging Bolt, which has more HP than you might imagine. And on top of that, Raging Bolt comes packed with an Ogerpon, which has, the grass typing at its advantage. So you're fast and all that stuff. So that's the big beatstick deck of the format, and Charizard also get caught in the crossfire of Dragapult, so that's why it is now on the number 6 spot. Based upon the successful EOIC build of Tord Ratcliffe, the legend himself, with a 1-1B barrel, there's a 2-0-2 line of Pidgeot in here, and there's a mixture of the Charmander, only 160 HP, as mentioned. You want to have your out to, of course, Dragapult, Lumineon, Rotom for your more, how do you say it? Like your versatility. With Rotom you draw cards, with Lumineon you can get any supporter you want. Definitely with some Ultra Balls, 4 of them in the list, you can definitely get your game started. There's a Kieran in here, allowing you to slap that 30 additional damage or switch, and it's also recoverable, so you can use Palpad, helps out against control. Then you have Kieran, Turo, Palpad, that means you have 4 switch outs in your deck entirely. There's a Picnic Basket in here for some healing capabilities as well against stuff like, for example, the Dragapult, but also could help out against Turbo Lost Box if they start Lost Mining for their TM Devo plays and stuff. That is definitely something that could help out. The Maximum Belt in here in combination with Kieran could allow Charizard to one-shot any EX in existence as soon as your second turn. So you don't have to worry about if the opponent has taken a prize card, yes or no. And as we all know, Charizard is one of the more tanky Pokemon in the format. It is having a grass weakness. Not a lot of grass is being played except for Ogerpon. So yeah, if you're still a fan of Charizard, it is not bad. It just is knocked down 1 tier. Moving forward, number 5 is going to be Snorlax Block. The difference between Control and Snorlax Block is that the Control deck has all sorts of ways to deal with specific scenarios. You can trap Pokemon, you can of course discard resources with the Luxray, there's Eerie and stuff, but Snorlax Block has a way different plan. There's not too much keen on the penny looping with this, and instead you just want to make sure the opponent is out of switch cards. You trap something in the active that is not able to retreat, because Snorlax has the block ability that prevents the opponent from manually retreating. And we also have that Accompanying Flute, allow us to look at the top 5 cards of the opponent's deck and select any basic Pokemon we find there and put them on the bench. So that's gonna help us out to select targets that are useless. Useless Pokemon, Lumineon V, Radiant Greninja, Jirachi sometimes, Manaphy, you name it. All these bench hitters will get trapped eventually, and then Snorlax Block runs away with the game. Accompanying Flute, I cannot stress enough how powerful this is. Now you only have to require, you can fetch it out instantly with stuff like the Arven, the 4-off here, and you don't always need Erica for that cheeky shenanigans where the opponent just, oh no, I have a useless Pokemon on the bench, like Accompanying Flute in combination with a Counter Catcher, and off you go, the game's done. Another new tool that Snorlax Block has access to is, of course, that handheld fan. If you get damaged and this tool card is equipped, you can put an energy card from the attacking Pokemon that attacks you to one of the opponent's bench Pokemon. So you can put, for example, in a Charizard deck, you can put Fire Energies onto a Rotom, for example, or super useless, or onto a Manaphy if you find that. So you can put energies, if decks are not playing a lot of energies, the handheld fan becomes more and more powerful. There is, of course, the way they can Turo themselves, but then they're discarding those energies, and you see where we're going with this. You run the opponent out of resources. We still respect the Lugia matchup quite a bit, so we're playing 3 copies of that Temple of Sinnoh in combination with Giacomo, and Giacomo with 2 copies of Palpad will mostly be enough. If you're not playing that, you automatically lose to Lugia, so we're respecting that with these cards in the list. But yeah, not a lot has changed. You can mill with Chiyu, you have the Mimikyu to wall off specific archetypes entirely, so a solid archetype going forward. And it's stranded here on the number 5 spot. Now, we are going to be checking out the number 4, and it's going to be Gardevoir. Believe it or not, Gardevoir is still not dead. It refuses to die, and it gets more and more tools as we go along. The new buddies for Gardevoir is Munkidori, which allows you to, of course, if it has a Darkness Energy attached, put 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That means we no longer need stuff like the Luxurious Cape or the Hero's Cape to start one-shotting with our powerful Drifloon. That's or even with Screamtail to slap more damage. The cool thing is with that situation is that you can now, of course, slap 220 damage with Gardevoir EX as well, which is something Gardevoir always dreamed of. Like knocking out the Lugia V with a Gardevoir EX, nothing more beautiful than that. Munkidori helping out with that. With 2 copies of Earthen Vessel and 2 copies of Darkness Energy, you're sure to find these quickly. And then get those Psychic Energies in the discard pile, and you have that additional Munkidori every single time. With 2 copies of Turo, you can even use Munkidori twice, which can sometimes lead to Pokemon from 60 HP getting knocked out by just using Munkidori, picking it up, slapping it down again. I know the energy goes to the discard pile, but you have 2 of them. And then you can do it again because you accelerate with the Psychic Embrace to suddenly get a board position where you take like 3 prize cards instantly. It is all possible with a deck like that. What else is new into the party is the Unfair Stamp. Gardevoir struggles a bit because everything's so fast, and with Unfair Stamp, which is easily searchable through the means of the Arven, you can put the opponent down to 2 cards as soon as the second turn if something got knocked out. Combine that with two copies of TM Evo to evolve your entire squad, and out of nowhere, Gardevoir has control back in the late game. You can use Iono, you can have Unfair Stamp, and then out of nowhere, Gardevoir with the Bravery Charms allows you to, of course, use the Screamtail to full advantage, as well as Drifloon, and with, of course, the two copies of Super Rod, you can get them back time and time again. We did cut a bit on the stadium outs here because Path to the Peak is no longer a thing. It has rotated, so Stadium Wars are less prevalent, meaning this is great. And also with, of course, the Flutter Mane, sometimes that can be useful to stop the opponents in their track and shut down the opponents' active their ability. So lots of options for Gardevoir. It's still one of the top decks in town, and I wonder how it will perform at NAIC. Then the number 3 is going to be Dragapult. Why this is not on the number 1 spot, you might ask. I think people are a little bit in debate about Dragapult. This is a list based on the successful list that Shintaro Ito designed. One of the very known players in the community from Japan, and I always trust his gut. And this time around, the Dragapult here is Dragapult with Pidgeot. I always say like Pidgeot is the best way to go about this. You do have the Neo Upper Energy, which means if you whiffed out your attach of the turn, you can always rely on the Neo Upper Energy. And if people one-shot you regardless, the deck is bad regardless that way. So if they one-shot you, you can then, you might think, oh, we need a 1-1 line of Xatu in here, but not too keen on that. This is a list. You can still rely on Mela, by the way, so there's still capabilities of that. A thing you should want to add here, you can think about Radiant Charizard to add into this list to have a little bit of a better chance against the rise of the the long neck Raikou, aka Raging Bolt, is doing crazy stuff right now on the online community. But anyhow, this is a consistent list and does come packed with Hawlucha. You might think the 70 HP basics are now safe on the bench. Well, that's where you're wrong. Hawlucha, off you go, put them down to 60 HP, use that Phantom Dive, and out of nowhere you swoop the opponent's entire field. Can definitely be powerful against a lot of situations. Think about Comfey decks, poof, you get them out of nowhere with the Hawlucha, as well as Charizard decks, as well as Mirror matches. It is definitely a great card to have. This is consistency with 4 Arven and 4 copies of the Iono. I would also, there's 4 rare candies in here, so there's only 3 Dracloak in here, but that's very great. Dracloak sometimes is a hindrance, as it can get knocked out by stuff like the Radiant Greninja and stuff. So I think you do have draw power with Dracloak, but if you have Pidgeot out, you have literally everything in hand all the time because of the quick search ability. A very solid Dragapult list, and I wonder how good Dragapult will do because there's 2 camps currently. Dragapult is the biggest flop ever, and people saying like people don't know how to build this list, so there's like it's divided in 2 camps. I'm just saying this is the 3rd best deck in the format, and people like Dragapults. Sniping damage here and there, having access to the most powerful abilities in the game. Think about quick search, think about instant charge. All these things are great in a nutshell. So if you play this deck, you're definitely gonna have a good time, and because it has come with some polarized matchups for Dragapult. Moving forward, number 2 is Lugia VSTAR. What can we say about Lugia VSTAR that hasn't been said already? Why is this card still around and has it been so long that this card it's always around. It seems to never rotate and it seems to always find new buddies. In the past we had like the amazing rare Pokemon, then it hopped over to the single strike hype train, then some colorless Lugia appeared with temporal forces, but now with Twilight Masquerade it becomes a little bit more rainbowy because of the Legacy Energy being released. Legacy Energy pretty much live duo in an ace pack in combination with Rainbow Energy. They fuse together like nothing you've ever seen before because that energy is hella powerful. And if you put that on an Iron Hands, your Iron Hands is a 1-prize Pokemon, which most of the time will happen. Iron Hands taking 2-prize cards, we've already seen that it's powerful. Chinchino knocking out any 2-prizer in existence with that special roll, and the late game Bloodmoon Ursaluna for the cases that you run out of energies. And I also might add here that you can put actually attack with Bloodmoon Ursaluna very easily. So 240 damage is a very great base power because Tempest Dive caps at 220. Which is sometimes not the thing you want. And you can also still use Lumineon loops. Lumineon loops, we are back. Because of Legacy Energy, the Lumineon can now attack. And you can skedaddle your Lumineon out of here to make sure that it's not becoming a 2-prize liability on the field. I've used this multiple times when playing this version of Lugia. And also, what makes Lugia better than ever before? I'm glad you asked. Carmine. This supporter by itself makes Lugia way more consistent. On your very first turn, and even on the rest of the game, you can also rely on Carmine. But more importantly, when you go first and it's your first turn, you can now use supporters. How dangerous is that? Getting Archeops and discard pile before the opponent is able to draw a card is already like threatening enough. With 4 copies of Lugia and of course the Carmine in the deck, you have 4 Ultra Ball, Masagosa, 3 Great Ball, and the Capturing Aroma. Consistency all around, and that's what you need because we did cut the Master Ball for the Legacy Energy, so you do need some more ball engines to make this possible. I think this is a very solid ground line. You might think about adding in Wellspring Ogerpon EX if you might want to have some sniping capabilities, but I'm a bigger fan of playing 2 copies of Lumineon for the consistency purpose. And that's the Lugia list. Check it out for yourself and let me know how you feel about it. And then, randomly out of nowhere, Raging Bolt takes the #1 place here. Raging Bolt with Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. Who would have thought? When I actually was making a top 10 prediction of the decks that were going to be very great in this format, I did not put this on the list. But now, it's on the #1 spot. Will it stay there? Find out next time on Dragon Ball. Now, with all seriousness, I don't even know if this will be remaining on the #1 spot because it's easily counterable. Like stuff like Sablezard can easily counter this, like Charizard EX in combination with like the maximum belt and some high pressure that you can put on can also counter this. Like it's like only having 2-prize Pokemon in here, so there's a lot of ways people can counter this. Mimikyu could be a huge headache, although there is a Cornerstone Ogerpon in here as well, just that can slap through all the abilities. And now that I think about it, if Charizard was a threat, then the Cornerstone Ogerpon will wall that out. So yeah, a very solid deck. You rely on the Professor Salah's Vitality time and time again. Reminds me back in the days of the Roaring Moon deck, but you need less. Teal Mask Ogerpon can also put Grass Energies in play while having draw power, so attach a Grass Energy to an Ogerpon, a Teal Mask Ogerpon, and you draw a card as well. Use Soda and you get 2 energies into play on your Raging Bolts. Attach of the turn and out of nowhere, there is actually 4 energies in play already, and that's already 280 damage, enough to knock out Lugia VSTAR, any like VSTAR in existence, and every basic EX gets knocked out as well, even Bloodmoon Ursaluna. So you see how strong this deck can become, and the more energies you can put in play with multiple Ogerpons, the dangerous it becomes. It turbos through the deck through the means of concealed cards, Squack ability as well, Tracking Shoe, Pokestop, you name it. It burns through the deck and just does everything right. Lost Vacuum is a tech card, for example. Stuff like the aforementioned, I would say it's going to be used for Gardevoir matchup, but you could also use the Lost Vacuum against like a Miraidon deck that has, of course, the Heavy Baton. Then you can scratch it off and then they lose. So something like that. It is very solid, but also can get rid of stadiums that could potentially become annoying. I like this list a lot. Definitely Energy Retrieval is like if you draw into that, if you get Ionut or Unfair Stamped, the Teal Mask Ogerpons become draw power, and if Greninja's on board, it becomes concealed cards for 2 and attach of the Grass Energy to a Teal Mask, so you actually see a total amount of 3 cards and then the top deck of the turn as well. So yeah, Energy Retrieval, very strong in this list for sure. And when Pokestop is around, this list is playing a lot of item cards. You don't even mind discarding a couple of your supporters because you do have access to Pelpat. I'm very big fan of turbo-based decks, and definitely something I should check out. If it is gonna be countered too much, then it is not a great play, but for now, we put this on the #1 spot. But now, let me know your opinion down below in the comment section. Which deck do you think deserves to be up on the list, or should be scratched from the list? Which deck should be up higher up on the list or lower? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in many ways. Definitely subscribe for more content because the next stop is 70k. 70,000 subscribers is going to be the next mark up on our agenda. And as always, go check out the sponsors that make the videos possible. DragonShield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. Use the coupon ZABLOS5 for 5% off. YourPlaymat.com to create your own unique custom playmat. Definitely do so. They look super dope. And you can, of course, click the link down below to head over to that website. PokemonStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs. Use of the coupon ZABLOSTCG for 5% off. And cardmarket.com for European players, where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. With that being said, I still want to, of course, wish everyone the best of luck for NAIC. If you're still trying to collect those last couple of championship points, I just hope you get there so we can meet at the World Championships over in Honolulu, Hawaii. On the other side of the world, I'll be there, I'll be vlogging, and I'll be playtesting like hell to be, of course, doing very well at Worlds because my best score is 5-3, and now there's no longer a day 2, so we're gonna be challenging the best as I possibly can. If you guys, of course, enjoy the content, feel free to check out my other content from Twilight Masquerade. I checked out most of these powerful decks already in a video, so definitely do so to learn more of how these decks actually fold out. With that being said, have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow for more Pokemon TCG madness. Peace!